think of the whole scenario and can give some good solution to the problems that are arising. Next, you can have a copy and a pen with you, so that I think in your busy schedule in the day, you may not be covering the book in details. So while in the class, I am discussing some of the important points, you can just note down, just as a running note, so that when you will be covering the books, you can just concentrate on those points only, and you will have a good understanding of the paper. So that is one of my suggestions. So these two things you have to adopt. One, you have to put yourself in the place of an entrepreneur, so that suppose you are manufacturing something or you are rendering a service, then you can think of the scenario how your product or service will penetrate the market. And second, for better understanding of the paper, you should note down some of the points that we are supposed to discuss during the class. So whatever we have discussed in the first class, just a small recap. We just got the overall concept of marketing, then the marketing environment, about the micro environment, about the macro environment, and then about the marketing information system, because this is the age of information and we need information, categorical information regarding marketing to have some relevant decision. Now we will move to marketing research. So actually, what does research mean? So good evening everyone, because I can see more number of participants joining in, and today
Very good evening, sir.
very good evening. So let us hope this
Sir,
number goes up. Yes,
sir,
Saraswati.
marketing intelligence system authority.
Well, marketing intelligence means intelligence system. Suppose the government has an intelligence system. What does that system do for the government? The intelligence department, it gives the internal news. That means what is actually currently happening in the environment is given to the government. Similarly, the marketing intelligence means the marketing data, the marketing information about the current happening, whether it is obtained from formal sources, whether it is obtained from informal sources, both things will be communicated to the management. That is marketing intelligence. Because you just think of a situation, suppose you are a manufacturer and you have given some of your sample products to your friends. Now after 2 or 3 days, you have inquired them about the quality of the product or about their feedback of the product. So because they are friends, not all of them will give you the right feedback, because you may take it in some other way. You may feel bad. Only some friends will give you the right suggestion that yes, your product lacks this and this thing. You need to improvise on it. So suppose you have distributed to 10 friends, you may not be getting the correct data, the correct feedback from your 10 friends. That's why the market intelligence works. It gets data from informal sources. That means either by interacting with the consumer in an informal way, either by interacting with the dealers in an informal way, and the formal way, of course, there is the survey process, there is the questionnaire process, all those things. The information is utmost required for the management to rectify, to modify, to improvise on that product. That's why market intelligence is required. Is that clear, Saraswati?
Yes, sir.
So now we shall move to marketing research. Actually, what does research mean? Research means to do an extensive study to acquire more knowledge on a specific matter. Now, what does marketing research mean? Marketing research means to study a situation, to study the basic reasons of a problem and to find out solutions. Marketing research actually explores all the possibilities which are causing some problems regarding the marketing of a particular product or service. So marketing research, it should be done in a way so that you will get the unbiased data. The basic purpose of marketing research is to facilitate your decision making process. Decision making process means whether you would like to improvise on your products on which aspect, on which angles, whether it is the price, whether it is the design, whether it is the quality, on which angle you would like to improvise on your product. So it helps the top management in taking a decision. Then marketing research can be of various types. Marketing research can be done for the consumers. Marketing research can be done for the product, for the market itself, for pricing, for advertising, for distribution channels. For everything there would be separate research. Suppose we are doing a research for consumers. So what will be the main objective of that research? Research means we have to study, we have to get some more information, more knowledge on that particular aspect. So if the research will be carried for consumer, then the basic objective of consumer research will be to find out the needs and wants which the consumer first want to be fulfilled. So once this consumer research is done, you will be able to identify.
Hello.
You're not audible, sir.
Mukesh, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now audible, sir.
Saraswati? Actually, the link has gone out because I was working on Wi-Fi and the current has gone out. So I'm switching to the SIM mode. So now I think I'm audible. So what I told, I just want to recap on it. Once you are doing a research on consumer, the consumer research helps us to identify the consumer needs and wants. And that research will subsequently lead us to design a product or service that can fulfill the consumer needs. And of course, whenever you are designing a product, we think it from different aspects like its technical aspect, its economically feasibility aspect, all those things. Then research can be conducted for market itself. So what is the market research? What is the main objective of market research? The market research is undertaken to determine size and growth of the market. That means what is the prospect of this market, whether it will grow and your product or service will find a way within itself to occupy a place in the market. What are the factors that are affecting the market? So these things are studied in a market research objective. Then you can carry the research for product. Product research involves to determine a design which will be appreciated by the consumers. Design includes everything: the shape, the size, the color of the product, the packaging, all these things constitute the product which will be appreciated by the consumers. Similarly, the research can be done for pricing. Pricing research will help you to estimate the level of consumer demand at different price levels. Suppose you are manufacturing a product and your manufacturing cost, suppose it is 100 rupees. Now, as per the quality of the product, of course, you are manufacturing, so you will be intending to get more profit. So, at what price the consumer will accept it in a large number, whether it is at 120 or 115 or 130, at which price it will be beneficial for you and as well as for the consumer. So, pricing research is done actually to determine the level of acceptance by the consumers at different prices. Similarly, the research can be done for advertising and distribution channels also. Advertising research means, actually advertising plays a big role for some of the products. As you know, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, those products are only running on advertisement, because of advertisement. And these companies, they spend a lot for advertising. But for a small organization, advertising at a national level will be very much expensive. So advertising research actually helps an organization to find the best suitable way to advertise their product or services. That means it should be within their budget, which will be beneficial and which will make their product known to a large number of consumers. Similarly, the research could be carried out for distribution to find the intermediaries, by their trustworthiness, by their track record, by their brand name, by their dealings with, by their commitments with other companies and manufacturers. So these are some of the researches which could be done, and as a whole, all these researches are part of marketing research. Then how this marketing research process is carried out? Well, for any research, not only for marketing research, but for any research, you just remember 2 or 3 points that is applicable for all types of research. First, in any research, you have to identify the problem and define it properly. That means, suppose you are manufacturing a certain thing and you are marketing it all over Odisha and West Bengal. In Odisha, your product is moving well. In some part of West Bengal, it is also doing well, and in some part it is not doing well. So now your problem identification is that in which specific region of West Bengal your product is not doing well. Now, that once that problem is identified and defined, then a research design is to be determined. That means to find out the reason of the problem, you have to design something, how you will know about the reasons of not doing well, reasons of failure. For that, you can interact with dealers. For that, you can interact with consumers. So, for that purpose, you may use questionnaire, you may use interviewing method, and you can do it with the help of a third party. So, after determining the research design, now you actually have to implement that design. That means actually you will be into action, and that action is known as your field work. by your field work, you will be collecting data. That means, let me go through all this, the 3 points again. In any research, you have to first identify the problem and define it properly. I cannot say the product is not doing well in West Bengal, because it is doing well in some part of West Bengal and it is not doing well in another part. So it should be specific, whether it's the southern zone, whether it is the eastern zone, where it is not doing well. After identifying and defining the problem, I have to determine the research design through which I will be knowing about the reasons of failure. Then my planning would take step of action through field work. By field work, I will be collecting data. Now, once you collect data, the next part will be your data analysis. That means in which part it is not month-on-month sales, week-on-week sales. Actually, the data analysis, either you can do it in a central tendency mode by taking mean media, or you can present it in a graphical mode like pie chart, like bar chart. So once you analyze your data, then a report is prepared and presented to the top management. So these are the pictures of the situation. This is the data we have obtained, and we have come up with these suggestions to tackle this problem. These are the basic things of a research process, marketing research process. Then someone may ask, sir, research design, in research design, what would be the sources, what would be the forms of data, how we will get that? Well, in that case, basically we obtain data from two sources. One is primary source, another one is secondary source. What is primary source? Primary source means you are getting the data from an individual directly. And what is secondary source? Secondary source means those data which are already available either in a published way, or in the website of certain organizations, or in the published data of the government. It is already available and can be accessible to anyone. But primary data, you have to obtain it from individuals. And primary data can be obtained through your interviewing method, through questionnaire. That means each individual will give its feedback regarding the particular problem. Then you can do sampling, because let us continue with that example. Suppose your product is not doing well in the eastern part of West Bengal. So the eastern part, in the eastern part, you cannot take all the people of the regions for interviewing or for questionnaire. So what happens? You take a sample size. That means suppose the population you came to know from the government data, government source, that the population is of 10 lakh of that particular area. So when population is 10 lakh, you finalized that we will be getting data from at least 5,000 people. So how those 5,000 people will be selected? Those 5,000 people will be selected on the basis of age, on the basis of their particular town, so that from different age groups, from different areas, you will be getting data and you can correlate them to arrive at a decision. So that could be your sampling process. There are many methods for sampling, random sampling. Even random sampling can be done, whether it is after every 5 houses you can choose a person from a family or even anything which you feel will give you a better feedback regarding a particular situation. So this is all about your research, marketing research. Then some data about the marketing research is also given in your book, which reveals how marketing research in India is carried out for the last few years. Actually, marketing research is an expensive way. It costs a lot. It involves people. So, the bigger organizations, they spend more. The smaller organizations actually feel reluctant to spend on marketing research because they have a very small budget, and within that small budget, they cannot make a proper marketing research about their product. So there are some statistics, you can see it from the tables also, and you will be astonished to know that companies who are spending more than 50 lakhs for marketing research, the number of companies is very less, very few. So at least the companies, they intend to spend around 1 to 2 lakhs for the marketing research, but marketing research gives authentic data to arrive at a decision to promote your products. Now this is all about marketing research. If anyone has any doubt, please feel free to ask me. Then we will be moving to the second block, which comprises of consumers and selecting target markets. Hello, Mukesh.
Sir?
Have you understood, or anything you have any doubt, you can ask me.
No, sir, no doubt. I was just looking at the table you were referring to right now, no, sir?
Yeah, you can draw inferences from the table yourself also, and this is very old data,
Yeah.
but the data reveals that organizations are a bit reluctant to spend on marketing research because it costs a lot.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Any other one who is having any doubt? Saraswati, Pinky, Survi?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll be moving to the second block, which comprises of consumers and target markets. So consumers. In marketing, consumers are God, because everything is designed around them. Whether it is a product, whether it is a service, they all revolve around a consumer, because these are basically meant for consumers to be utilized or to be purchased by them. So, when you start with consumer, there are different types of people, and obviously the reaction or the behavior of consumers will be different. So the second block starts with buyer behavior. That means the consumer behavior. As personality differs from person to person, this buying behavior also differs from person to person. Then what would be the consumer behavior? You will observe difference in consumer behavior while purchasing, while using the product, while evaluating the product, while giving statements after using the product. Feedback will differ. So, consumer behavior, and for a single person also, consumer behavior differs at different stages. Let me give you an example. Suppose you intend to buy a microwave. So before you purchase the microwave, which is known as, before you purchase anything, that is called as acquisition phase. Before your purchase, whatever you are doing, that is for that product is acquisition phase. You do a lot of research. You tend to ask your friends, your relatives about which of the microwaves is performing well. Then you search about make your research about the price. Then you inquire about the after sales service. So after all those queries, all those inquiries, when you are satisfied that yes, within my budget, this particular microwave is going to give me the most satisfaction, utmost satisfaction, then you go for that product and purchase. This is one consumer behavior in one phase, that is called acquisition phase, before purchasing the product. Now consumption phase. Next one is consumption phase. What happens in consumption phase? This is the phase when actually you are using that product. You have purchased the product with some assumptions that yes, quality wise this will be so and so, performance wise this will be so and so. So actually when you are using the product, if that product performs as per your expectation, then you will be having good feedback about that product. But if that product does not function as per your expectation, then you will have some adverse remark about that particular product. So before purchasing, you were eager to purchase that product. In that phase, your state of mind was a bit different. Now, after using, if you are not satisfied, your state of mind differs. So that is the consumer behavior. And the last phase is disposition phase. That means some products, after 1 or 2, 3 uses, they will be disposed of. So disposition phase means if you are satisfied, you will go for that product again. Basically, this is applicable for perishable products which are consumed within 2 or 3 uses. If you are not satisfied, then you will not go for this product. This is the general consumer behavior at 3 different stages: before purchasing, while using, and after utilizing the product. So what is the utility of studying this buyer behavior? Because for a manufacturer or for a service rendering organization, these behaviors need to be studied, as this will help an organization to make its marketing strategy. Strategy means a systematic plan to tackle a particular situation. So, keeping the consumer's behavior in mind, an organization makes it marketing strategy. It can also help the organization for social marketing and can create a base of, a field of, a sector of better buyers for that product. Then how the organization will make its marketing strategy or social marketing? Before that, the organization must know about the types of consumer. Types of consumer means we as individuals, we are using a lot of things in our daily life. We are personal consumers. That means the consumers who are purchasing goods or services for their own use, they are personal consumers. Similarly, the organizations which are purchasing the product to process another product, they are called organizational consumers. The basic difference between individual and organizational will be that individually I will purchase a few number of products, while organizations at the same time will purchase a large number of that particular product. So, if an organization thinks about producing or manufacturing some goods, it will keep both these segments into mind. Suppose, let me give you an example, because the same organization has to think about both type of customers. Let me give you an example. Let us take the example of tires, automobile tires. And let's take the example of MRF or CEAT tires. They may be having some tie-ups with other automobile manufacturers like Maruti, like Skoda, to whom they are supplying tires. Okay, that is Maruti and Skoda are organizational consumer for MRF. But MRF also targets us because after we are using our vehicles, after a certain period, we also need to change our tire, and for that reason, personal consumers are also in their thought process, and personal consumers, for personal consumers also, they manufacture tires and sell them through their dealers and sub-dealers. Now, if we go into the consumer segments and their behavior, then we must know about the factors that influence the consumer's behavior. Now, you either as an entrepreneur or as a human being, as a consumer, you also know these factors, but you just need to categorize them. Because whenever you are purchasing a product, you are doing all these things unknowingly. Once you relate your purchasing behavior with the documents, with the materials given to you within your book, you can well understand the subject. Now, what could be the factors that influence your behavior? One is your psychological factors. Psychological factors means, again we can take an example. Suppose you have decided to purchase an air conditioner. Now, why do you need that air conditioner? First, your psychological factors will come, because nowadays it is unbearably hot, so I need an AC. So you are motivated. That means your psychological factors, motivation first comes to purchase that particular thing. Then which AC to purchase, your perception, your thought image will come into play. Whether Blue Star AC will be preferred, whether LG AC will be preferred, or whether Electrolux AC will be preferred. So your psychological factors, like your motivation, your perception, and your interaction with other persons who are having air conditioners, you will be asking them which air conditioner you are using, how it is functioning, how whether you are satisfied with the after sales service or not. So all those data will play a bigger role before purchasing the product. Now there are a lot of things given in your book regarding motivation, Maslow's hierarchy of motivation, then Freud's psychoanalytical theory of personality. So you can go through the books and understand them. And if you just want, I can briefly discuss all those things. What Maslow's hierarchy of need theory of motivation states, every person basically has 4 stages in the hierarchy. Once these 4 stages are achieved, then a person goes for the 5th one. The first stage in anyone's psychological needs is to survive. That means the first psychological needs are food, water and shelter. After these things get fulfilled, then a person looks for its protection, for security. Security may be financial security, whether it is held in form of deposits with the bank, or whether he purchases an insurance policy to protect his family or his asset. Once safety needs are addressed, then a person looks for social needs. Social needs means once you are financially stable, once you have addressed your basic needs and safety needs, then you want to do something to be recognized in the society, whether it be associated with some volunteer organizations, whether you will be associated with some religious work, some social welfare work that will give you social recognition. Once you are satisfied with your social endeavor, then a person opts for esteem needs. That means he wants to get prestige from the society by doing something, whether for the society or for the fellow person who is with whom he is coming across every day. But at some point of time, every person wants to have some esteem, some respect, some prestige in the society. So when all these 4 needs are satisfied, very rarely it happens to all the human beings. Very few of us actually fulfilled our first 4 needs. After the fulfillment of first 4 needs, then the last need that comes, that is of self-actualization needs. Self-actualization means this is the time for self-analysis, for eternal satisfaction. That means at this stage, you will think that, yes, now I am going to do something which will give me immense satisfaction, and even after my death, I will be alive among the people in my locality. So this is in short about Maslow's hierarchy of theory motivation. Similarly, there is theory of Freud's psychoanalytical theory of personality. There is the ID, superego and ego. You can go through the book and learn about that. So I will not be going into that. Yes.
Sir, 5 need is health equalization. 5 needs.
I couldn't get. 5 needs. What you said? Health.
Again.
Health. First, your need is to survive. That is food, water and shelter. After that, yes, in your safety needs, you will be protecting your health, you will be protecting your assets, you will be protecting your family. So that will come under safety needs. Second need. Third need is social need. You try to win friends. You will belong to a volunteer organization to do some socio welfare work. So that is social needs. Next, esteem needs. That means you will be doing something for which you will be given respect, given prestige in the society. And after attaining all those 4 needs, after the fulfillment of these 4 needs, the final need of self-actualization comes. So where is your doubt? You please ask me. I couldn't get you. Saraswati.
Sir, 5 needs टे जो कहउचंदे सेटा कोन हेल्थ ना कोन कहउचंद बुझी पाउनी.
Self, nijo, SELF. self-actualization.
Yes, sir.
Actual re IZATION.
Okay.
Self-actualization needs. This is for
Yes, sir.
eternal satisfaction. Eternal, ETERNAL. Eternal. Daiva. Eternal satisfaction. Naisargika sukha. So now you can read about the ego, superego, which always tries to keep a balance between ID and superego. Now we'll be getting some more knowledge about people or buyers having exposure. That means one word we discussed, that is called perception. How do we perceive about a certain thing? Because you might have noticed, you are watching many characters in the television every day, and you have not come across any of them physically in your life. Still then, by just going through their interview or by some of their words, you are visualizing a picture, visualizing a personality of that particular person. So that is your perception. Without actually physically interacting with anyone, we visualize a picture about him. How does that come? That comes from different exposures, whether it is selective exposures or selective attention or selective change. We need to just know about these things in very brief. Selective exposure means every day we are watching lots of advertisement in TV, lots of advertisement we are reading on the newspaper. While going through these advertisements, all the advertisements will not appeal to us at the same rate. Some of the advertisements will appeal to us, and those advertisements which appeal to us will have a better picture of their product in our mind. Will create a better picture of the product in our mind. So in that case, advertising plays a big role. So we are selective in choosing the product while watching the advertisement. Similarly, we give attention to those advertisements which attract us, which establishes itself as a different advertisement from others. I am giving you examples of 2 or 3 advertisements that you can know that how advertisement has impact on our daily life. Nowadays, you are watching many awareness campaign for this, for fighting this COVID-19 virus. There is one advertisement coming in the TV that कोई भी साबुन हो, एक एडवर्टाइजमेंट आता है टीवी में, कोई भी साबुन हो, आप हाथ धोते रहिए, सुस्त रहिए. उसके नीचे लिखा होता है, this is an advertisement by Lifebuoy. That means in this particular ad, Lifebuoy is not speaking anything to use the Lifebuoy hand wash. In fact, it is generalizing or it is asking everyone to at least clean your hands with hand wash. But the advertisement is sponsored or given by Lifebuoy. That creates a different image. The company is not promoting its product by saying, but it is presenting its brand name in such a beautiful manner that everyone is is getting very fascinated by this advertisement. So these are something which advertisements create or play in our life. For determining consumer behavior, these advertisements also play a role. Then apart from these advertisements, personal factors also play a big role in determining consumer behavior. Now, what could be those personal factors? You take yourself as an example. Personal factors like your age. Your age will be a factor because I think most of you are very young, within 25, not like me, who is already twice your age. So, 25 means your appreciation for products will differ from mine. So, age is a factor which influences the decision of a buyer to purchase a product. Similarly, your occupation. Suppose nowadays some of you are students and some of you are working. Now those who are students, suppose we are thinking of a smartphone. So those who are students and residing at home, when they are planning to purchase a smartphone, they will think of a phone which will be better than the others who are using the smartphone of their same age, That means in their surroundings or among their friends, they will at least go for a smartphone which will be better than or equal to the phones that has been used by the friends. Suppose some of you are working and because they are earning, again if that person wants to purchase a smartphone, his choice will differ from yours who are still students. Because those persons who are working in their circle, they would be using some more expensive phones. So choice will differ depending on your occupation because it signifies a different class of yours. And occupation is a more meaningful criteria, not only in terms of income. Because of that reason, I gave you two examples. This doesn't only depend on income, this also depends on the social class you belong to. If your family has a good reputation, your family is supposed to be a middle class family, you will purchase a phone that will fit to the status of your family, that will fit to the rank of your social rank of your family. So these factors also contribute to the buyer's behavior, consumer behavior. Then your economic circumstances. Let us discuss about economic circumstances a bit later. We can think about your lifestyle. Some people are there. I don't think this type of people are there in our group. But there are some people in the society. They always try to maintain a standard irrespective of their income. They always try to portray themselves, they always try to picturize themselves in the society as a very affluent person, as a very stylish person. This doesn't depend on their income. They always try to show up that. So in order to maintain that lifestyle, they also purchase things. In economical terms, we may not be going for that product although we are earning. but they will go for that product because it adds to their status which they are showing up in the society. So lifestyle also affects the behavior of a consumer. And if we take the economic circumstances, this will let us take the example of current scenario. Current economic scenario compels us to think twice before purchasing a product, because this is the time of economic crisis. We can afford to spend 20,000 or 25,000 for a smartphone, but this particular economic circumstance compels us to think twice, because worse days are coming. So it should be better for us if we need a smartphone very necessarily, then we can have that phone within a budget of 10 to 12,000. We should not spend 25,000 on a phone, because we should have some buffer for the worst days, for the coming days. So economic circumstances also plays a role. So this is all about the personal factors. If we consider the social factors that influence consumers' behavior, then the social factors could be your group, your reference group, the group with which you are spending time, whatever lifestyle they are adopting, you may be appreciating that and you also want to maintain the same lifestyle. That is called reference group. Actually, reference group can be categorized into 3 or 4 types. One is contractual, another one is aspirational group. These 2 groups signifies that whatever the lifestyle of these 2 groups people are, you also want to have the same lifestyle. But there is another group which is called a disclaimant group. A disclaimant group, it has got a peculiar characteristic. Disclaimant group means you are a member of that group, you are sitting with those people, but you are not appreciating all the work done by them. So you have a strong feeling that whatever they are using, I will not use that. That is called a disclaimant group. Like you are not biased by them, rather you are strongly repelled to purchase those goods. So these are the social factors. Social factors also, you have family. In family, always your decisions will not be approved all the time, because there will be a family head, there will be a head of your family who will at least think of before purchasing an expensive thing for your family. So you need to get his approval. Sometimes family head's approval plays a role in a consumer's behavior. Then there are cultural factors. Cultural factors means actually which culture? Cultural factors means, suppose you are staying in a society and you are Hindu. So suppose you are supposed to purchase some new dresses on a festive occasion. So you will be interested, or you will be eager to purchase those costumes which fits you, which will suit you, and which is also approved by your religion. That's the general concept of human being. Suppose you are a Muslim. Similarly, you will be purchasing products which will be appreciated by your religion. So these cultural factors also influence the consumer's behavior. Then, so your apart from cultural factors, your social class also, this is also we have discussed. Your social class means it basically gives the picture of the status you are maintaining in the society. Whether and the behavior of consumers will change if they are affluent, if they are rich, if they are middle class, if they are lower middle class, then purchasing concept will differ, purchasing consumers behavior will differ from class to class. So what we have learned, which factors basically affect the consumer's behavior, you just remember personal factors. In personal factors, your age, your lifestyle, your occupation and economic circumstances will matter. Then in social factors, the reference groups with which you are spending time or the family will influence the consumer behavior. For cultural factors, your culture, your religion, your race will affect your decision, will have impact on your decision on purchasing something, and also your social class which you are maintaining in the society. Now, up to this point, I would like to ask you whether you have any doubt. Please ask me. Otherwise, we will be taking a small break and next we will be moving towards the consumer buying decision process. Please.
No,
think
sir.
this.
So can you tell us something about Freud's psychoanalytical theory? Like
Okay.
ego and superego and ID.
Okay, ID, the word itself suggests that you have an identification, isn't that?
Yes, sir.
Every person wants to have an identification. This is the basic psychological need of a person to create his own identity. Okay. To create your own identity, initially you do things what you like the most or what you think is correct, you do those things. And to create your ID, first you have to quench the basic needs, that is your food, your thirst, for your thirst, for your hunger, you have to arrange things, because unless these basic needs are fulfilled, you cannot establish your ID. Then the other two things of Freud is that your superego and ego. What does superego tells? Superego tells that you should satisfy your need in a way which is acceptable or which is accepted, which will be acceptable to the society. That means your super ego will always compel you not to do any illegal or indecent things that will spoil your image. And what does that ego stand for? Ego actually works like a referee between the ID and superego. What happens? First you have to create your ID. Once you create your ID, that means once you fulfill your basic needs, then you want to excel, then you want to flourish, then you want to make your identity big. Superego compels you to do that. But every time there is a tussle between your heart and mind, that whether this will be the right way to acquire money or not. Whatever I am doing to accumulate wealth, will that be acceptable to my next generation? Whether my work will be appreciated by my family members. So that is controlled by ego. Otherwise, you can do anything to satisfy your superego. So ego actually plays a role of referee which maintains a balance between your ID and your superego. Is that clear, Mukesh?
Yes,
Or
sir.
anything else you want to ask?
No, sir. So,
Hello?
yes, sir. It's okay, sir.
Okay. So shall we move forward?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
So now we can have some small portion left in this unit. That is your stages in your buying decision process. Anyway, whenever the word process comes, any decision process comes, as we have already discussed in marketing research, if you think about the stages in buying decision, then first is your problem recognition. And from the perspective of a customer, first your need arousal. That means think yourself as a customer, as a consumer, and think of some product which you intend to buy. Now you can correlate how this buying process takes place within yourself. For you, suppose you are supposed to purchase a smartphone. So first, when you feel the need of purchasing a cell phone, then only you will proceed forward. Unless you need a cell phone, you will not think about that. Unless you need an air cooler, you will not think about that. So first, when you feel the need, then your buying decision process starts. That means the problem recognition or need identification. Then you do some information research. Information research already we have discussed, from personal source, from advertisement, from newspaper, from some other persons who have more experience than you. So this information research we do for everything, whether it is for a cell phone, whether it is for an air conditioner, whether it is for a car, we do this research. Because these are expensive things, and if we purchase, we cannot substitute it within 5 to 10 years, 5 to 6 years. So in the second stage, in the buying decision process, we search for information. Then third one. What is the third one? After your research work, you got lot of suggestions, lot of recommendations from different people. Now, you will evaluate those alternatives. That means among all those options, you will evaluate which option will be best for you. Because you will be considering your pocket, your budget, you will be considering about the durability, you will be considering about the after sales service, you will be considering about the quality. So on the basis of all this, you will be evaluating the alternatives. After the evaluation, the actual purchase decision will be made in the fourth stage. Once you decide on purchasing a particular product, the next process would be your post-purchase behavior. We have already discussed about that. That means while using the product, your feedback matters, because if you are satisfied with all the attributes of the product, whatever you have expected from that, then you will be having a very high opinion about that product. Even you can orally advertise for that product, but if you are not satisfied, then you will lose faith in that brand and you will never go for that brand again in your future. So this is basically the stages in buying decision. Now we can summarize on consumers buying, types of buying decision, types of buying behaviors for consumers to sum up this particular unit. So there are many types of buyers. Just to understand, there are some buyers who always seek for variety. Variety seeking buying behavior means you just want to have that product in that particular product. For that particular product, you don't need more brands. You don't need anything very highly technical feature. Suppose take the example of biscuit. Suppose you are using biscuits of Britannia for a long time. For a change, you want to use the Bisque Farm biscuits. It doesn't mean that you are dissatisfied with Britannia. It means for a change, you just opted Bisque Farm. The variety seeking. But on the contrary, some buyers are habitual buyers. That means they religiously purchase products from one manufacturer or from one brand, and they go on using that. They never change their brand. So these are the types of consumers buying behavior. So with this we come to the conclusion of this unit. Next units are very much interesting. They are more, they are less theoretical, but more practical things to be understood and easy to understand, because from this unit onwards, some easier things will be coming into our study, which you can correlate with your daily life, with your daily marketing process, and can understand them easily. So let us take 1 or 2 minute break for the time being, and some of you can interact with me. Well, Mukesh, today Vijay Palji is not present. So,
yes, sir.
Is there any problem?
Next time I will ask his number and give him a message. Maybe he's not having that information.
So initially there were 4 or 5 participants other than we two, but now it has reduced to 3.
Sir, just now it has.
Surbhi, am I audible to you? You please interact.
Yes, sir.
Surbhi, tell us something about you, where you are staying and from where you are attending the stay session.
Sir, I am staying in Kolkata presently.
Okay.
So actually the morning classes I wasn't able to attend because of the timing. But thank you so much for changing the time so that yeah, we could also attend.
I was also expecting that with the change in time, the number of participants will go more. But unfortunately, this didn't go up.
I think, sir, people were not aware of it. So just now somebody asked in the previous previous subjects group. So I just mentioned to them that the class is going on, but I didn't see anybody joining in. So I don't know.
Okay, one request to you, please inform in your group accordingly, so that we will be having the classes at 5:30 from tomorrow onwards, and I expect more participants.
Yes, sir.
So Surbhi, apart from doing your, yes?
So the link will be same or the link ID will be changing?
No, link will be same. Today's link will be followed for the next 4 days.
Okay, okay, sir.
So Surbhi, actually tell me, apart from pursuing your income with IGNOU, what else you are doing as your main engagement?
Sir, I'm a yoga teacher.
Okay, good.
So yeah, and actually I'm a mother of 2 young kids. So that's why it wasn't feasible for me to join in the morning since they have their school online sessions in the morning.
Yeah, I fully understand. Now I understand. Okay, whatever we have explained so far and discussed, is it understood or is there any problem?
No, sir, it is understandable, and I'm really like because to be very frank, I don't get that much of time. So when you were teaching me, so it was very much. I mean, I could connect to the material. I was looking at the material, and it is very good that you are covering like each and every topic since like so we get an overview of what it is. So that is
Okay,
very
thank you.
helpful for me.
Thank you so much, Survi. So actually we will be moving forward and from this unit onwards, some easier things to take place, and if you can correlate it with your daily life, you can understand it very well. Now actually we'll be moving to markets and market segmentation. So what is a market? Market, basically we think of a picture, a place where goods and services are exchanged in terms of money. But in management term, we can define market is an arena where two or more parties, basically the sellers and buyers. Market is an arena where buyers and sellers come together to be engaged in an economic transaction. Previously, when there was no use of currency, market also existed. In those days, the exchange was done, but not in terms of money. But nowadays, market means a place is an arena where two or more parties, buyers and sellers, they come together to be engaged in an economic transaction. That means someone is offering a product, other one is availing that product in exchange of some money. This market, and in the current scenario, the market is also divided into two parts. One is physical market, one is virtual market. Physical market means to the market where you are going to purchase vegetables, or to the market from where you are purchasing your grocery items. Physically you are going there, purchasing the product, giving them money, monetary value to the vendor. That is physical market. Another one is virtual market, and which is becoming very popular day by day. It is your online marketing. You are not actually going to any shop or to any mall. You are purchasing from your home at your own convenience. So physically the buyer and the seller are not meeting each other, but an economic transaction is taking place. That's why it is a market, and it is a virtual market. Okay. So this market, again, if we think about how to categorize the markets, then markets can be divided into same two types. One is consumer market, one is organizational market, like the buyers, personal buyers, organizational buyers, similarly consumer markets and organizational markets. Consumer market means this market consists of all the individuals, all the households who are purchasing goods and services for their own use or for their family use. This is consumer market. And in India, this is a huge market because we have a population of more than 130 crores and having a household of minimum 30 crore families. And organizational market means market comprises of all the organizations, all the institutions who are buying goods and services at a large amount from both domestic suppliers and international suppliers. This market comprises of all the organizations that buy goods and services to be used in their production or to be supplied to other consumers. Then what would be the difference between the consumer market and the organizational market? In terms of number, 1, 2, 3, 4, consumer market is huge. In terms of organizational market, number of organizations will be less than that of the total population, total consumers. But if we compare the purchases, then for one household or one individual, the purchased product, the number of purchased product will be much less than the number of purchased products by any organization or institution. Again, the organizational market can be subcategorized into 3 or 4 types. One is your industrial market. Industrial market means those organizations which purchase goods or services for the production of other products. That means this industrial market comprises of those organizations which are purchasing raw materials to produce their own goods. This can be, the examples could be your for your agriculture, mining industry, they are procuring raw materials. For any manufacturing industry, they all will come under industrial market. Then there is a big reseller market. Reseller market means basically comprises of all the intermediaries. That means they are the middlemen who are purchasing in bulk from the manufacturer and then reselling it to you, to the consumers, to the family, to the households. Why it comes under organizational market? Because they are purchasing at a huge number, they are purchasing in bulk. Then there is also government market. There is provision by the government to promote different types of industries. In our industrial policy resolutions, there are provisions specified. So for that reason, to promote the industries, the government departments purchase orders for different materials to be used in the offices. And the order size of the order is also substantial. So this is the government market. And there is institutional market like the education institute, like the medical institutes. Things are needed and are purchased in bulk. So all these institutions, government departments, resellers and industries like your mining and agriculture, all the industries, they come under organizational market. We need to know about the characteristics of organizational market because this is a very likely question to be asked in your semester exam about the organizational market. So characteristics of organizational market, how you will write that? You just think what I have told you before. For organizational market, they may be ordering at a large number, but the number of organizations which are putting orders, which are placing orders, the number is very less. When it is 30 crore people, then order may come from only 5,000 or 10,000 organizations. So because they are small in numbers, the marketers should have more good relation with them to supply their goods and materials smoothly. So this is one of the characteristics of organizational market. You need to be careful. You need to take more care of the organization so that your market share will sustain. Then the characteristics of organizational market is that they are large scale buyers, they order in bulk. Then one more characteristics are that organizational markets are mainly concentrated in the metros, those cities which are already developed, those cities which have special economic zones, those cities which have industrial estates. So they are not, so this privilege is not granted to all the towns in India. So they are not scattered, they are mainly concentrated around the metros. And another is characteristic is that they have fluctuating demand. Fluctuating demand means when a new plant is established, they need equipments, but they are not sure how much they will be penetrating the market to sell their goods. So for some period of time, there will be fluctuation in their demand, and the marketers need to understand that and keep relation with them accordingly. Next, we can focus on market segmentation. Market segmentation. Well, now you have already learnt about what is a market, what are the types of market like your personal consumer markets, organizational market. Then the examples, the subcategories of organizational market like industrial market, reseller market, government markets, institutional markets, and to add to that, we knew some of the characteristics of organizational market as they exist in few numbers, but they order at large scale, they are concentrated around the metros and the newly established units, they have fluctuation in their demand, and the buyers and the marketers need to understand and address that. Then we will know about segmentation. Segmentation means you will divide the market. How you will divide the market? You can divide the market on the basis of gender, age, income. One thing you will make sure that on which basis you may divide, you must have some similarity factors among this category to influence their demand. So on this basis, why the marketers, why the organization, or why a marketing management team focuses on market segmentation? Because they think of a product which according to them will appeal the most to which of the segment, whether it will appeal to the young people more, whether it will appeal more to the affluent people, whether it will be for the, it will be more appreciated by the ladies. So keeping that thing in view, they design their product, and on that basis, they segment, they divide the market. Now for their marketing, they have two things. Either they can go for mass marketing, or they can go for target marketing.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
in that group,
Sharbi, you are not clearly audible.
But they say that I think you.
Hello.
Now am I audible?
Yes,
sir?
now I can hear you.
Hello. Sir, some people are trying to join, so they are saying that you need to accept their request. I think they're trying.
Well, I am not the host. Our Patel sir is the host. Let me communicate him. Okay. So please
Yes,
give
sir.
me 1 or 2 minutes. I'm just
Yeah.
ringing him and asking him if people are waiting to join. Please allow them. Okay. So please
Okay. Thank you,
excuse
sir.
me for a minute.
Yes.
Hello, Surbi. I
Yes, sir.
requested Patel sir, and he will be allowing
Thank you,
those
sir.
people. So now we will be discussing about the marketing intention of organizations. Why they need market segmentation? One is that either the organization will go for mass marketing or they will go for target marketing. In short, you can understand mass marketing. Mass marketing means this product is applicable, this product is meant for everyone, for all. There is no specific segmentation. This product they have made for the use of everyone. Why they adopt this marketing strategy, mass marketing? Marketing helps an organizations to have economies of scale. Economies of scale means that cost of production will be less, so that they will make that product available in the market at a very low cost. So this is also called shotgun approach. And what about target marketing? Target marketing means they are emphasizing, they are focusing, they are targeting on one or two specific segments of the population. Either they may be ladies, either they may be young people, either they may be middle class people. Any one or two specific segments the organization is focusing on. This is in other words also known as a rifle approach. The first one, mass marketing, is shotgun approach. Target marketing is rifle approach. Then if we need the rifle approach, then what would be the requirements of an effective market segmentation? For effective market segmentation, first the organization, the marketers, should identify the segment, which segment to focus on. And the segment which is identified should be measurable either in terms of number or in terms of their demand from the available secondary data. It should be measurable, either their demand, either their population. Once it is identified, the basic condition is that the segment should be sufficient in size. Sufficient in size means the consumer in the market should be more, should be substantial, so that we can move our product through them and can get good profitability for our organizations. Next, what other requirements for the segmentation? That particular segment should be stable. Here stable means what the available data show. It showed the data showed that their demand is more or less growing up or remaining constant. They have not drastically changed. Stable means it has not gone up more or it has not gone downwards in a very unpredictable manner. It may be increasing at a low pace, but it is increasing. That can be considered as stable. The demand may be increasing at 1%, but if it is consistently increasing at 1%, then it can be termed as stable, not fluctuating much. Then the main thing of the organization which will be taken into consideration before market segmentation is that whether after identifying the segment, after measuring the size, after getting the stability figure of the segment, the main thing of the organization is whether the organization is capable enough to serve that particular segment. Here capability means the resources of the organization to serve that particular segment. Resources means whether the skill, the manpower, the marketing force, the distribution channel, all together will make that product available to the particular segment of people effectively or not. Once these requirements are fulfilled, a perfect segmentation will be done. Now, if we think more about this market segmentation, as you know, the market segmentation can be done on the basis of gender, age, income. In a more extensive way, the marketers, the organizations go for market segmentation on the basis of their geographic location, on the basis of their psychographic parameters. That is, psychographic means just we discussed in this class 1 hour back, their lifestyle, their personality. Lifestyle, personality, these things denote the psychographic factors of a person. Segmentation can be done on sociocultural issues. So, there could be many bases for market segmentation, but the main requirements for effective market segmentation is that it should be identified, the size should be measurable, the picture should be stable either of growth or of demand. Then the most required thing for effective market segmentation is that the organization must have the capability to serve that particular segment. Now, once you decide on the market segmentation, then you can actually go for other segmentation like your use related segmentation, benefit segmentation. Use related segmentation means, let me explain you, because use related segmentation you may not be coming across this many times in the theory. Use related means some people are very much loyal to a particular brand. Even if they are not 100% satisfied, still then they feel it a great privilege to use that brand. maybe that, let me take an example. Suppose let us take the example of an apparel brand. Suppose it is Peter England. Few years back, when Peter England was introduced in India, some people went for that brand. I observed, it's my personal experience, some of them did not get satisfied with the quality of the product, because after 6 months use, most of the apparels, they did not prove to be trustworthy, or they did not give full value for them use. So some of my friends, they got dissatisfied and never used Peter England again. But some of them, they still believe in that brand and used. So the marketers can segmentize on this use related basis, and that data are available for that. So for that, they only actually they have to recognize the loyal brand of customers who are loyal to a particular brand, and others who are always moving from brand to brand, and the new marketer need to capitalize on those consumers who are changing brands because of any of the reasons, because maybe of their dissatisfaction, because maybe of in search of quality, maybe in search of variety. So on that basis also segmentation can be done. Then what else is left in this? I don't think there is much thing left in this unit. So is there any doubt you can ask me, so that we can move to the last unit of this, which we can be completing within 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes will be maximum, because that is about market targeting and positioning. So anybody who wants to ask something? Surabhi?
Sir, sir, this market segmentation is the techniques that we have discussed is for both the consumer as well as the organizational markets. For both of the markets, the segmentation techniques are same, right?
Okay, let me give you more clarity on that. Well, marketing, who is supposed to focus on marketing? Whether it is customer or the organization?
The organization.
Okay, then whatever we have discussed on segmentation, the basis, this will be applicable for the marketer. This will be applicable for the organization, on which basis it will divide, it will segment the market so that it can push its product to reach people. So basically what we have discussed, this is applicable for organizations, because they will be moving their products. From customer point of view, they divide it on the basis of age of customers, on the tastes, on the loyalty of customers. But the segmentation is not done on behalf of the customers, it is done on behalf of the organization. Okay? It is done for the customers. It is done on the customers. It is done on the customers for the organization. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now you think yourself as an entrepreneur. Now suppose you are a very good yoga instructor, and I think maybe you are doing it for a social welfare work also. But if you want to commercialize it, you put you as an entrepreneur and think how you can market your service so that others will be motivated, and you will have a large number of participants in your yoga class. Once you put yourself in that picture, automatically things will be more clear to you, what you are doing and what is marketing. Marketing is nothing but a good presentation of yourself. For an organization, marketing is nothing but a good presentation of its product or service. Once you touch the heart of consumer, you will stay there. That is the basic motto of marketing. Understood?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So now we will be moving into the last unit, which is a very small unit, and we will complete it within 15 minutes. So this is about market targeting and positioning. The word itself suggests targeting. Targeting means you are targeting a particular segment. So a target market can be defined as a segment or as a set of buyers who have some common needs. A target market can be defined as a segment of consumers or a set of buyers who have some common needs and that are supposed to be fulfilled by your company, by the organization. In simple words, target market is like that. You are targeting a particular segment who have some common needs and your organization needs to serve, needs to cater to those needs. Then what are the market targeting strategies? Once you have decided on a segment, now you will target some markets. So how this strategy will work? So there are basically 3 types of strategies for targeting, market targeting. One is concentrated marketing. You just go by the words. Words expresses everything in marketing. Concentrated marketing. That means you are focused on a particular segment. Concentrated marketing means let me give you an example. Suppose one manufacturer is there who is supplying its goods across 30 districts in Odisha and is getting a turnover of 5 crores. On the other hand, a new manufacturer came into picture producing the same product, similar product, same product. But the new manufacturer, it concentrated only on the coastal districts, 5 to 7 districts, and extensively marketed its goods, and within a span of 5 to 6 months, it achieved a sales of 4 crores in only these 7 districts. This is called concentrated marketing. Concentrated marketing means you focus a particular segment and put your full emphasis on selling the product instead of going for different segments at different places. This is one of the market targeting strategy. Another strategy could be your differentiated marketing. Differentiated marketing strategy means marketers or the organization targets several market segments but designs different offers for each segment. That means when you are going for differentiated marketing, you must be having more than one product in your product line. We'll be discussing about product line tomorrow in the next class. Unless you have more than one product in your product line, you cannot cater to the needs of different segments of people. So differentiated marketing means you are addressing the needs of different market segments with different products, with different offers for all segments. In concentrated marketing, what happens? You focused on one product and on a particular segment. On the contrary to differentiated marketing, that is undifferentiated marketing. Undifferentiated marketing is meant for large scale production, while some big manufacturers large scale industries, when they go for production, they produce at a very huge scale, and they produce the products which is applicable to everyone. That means they are producing the products which are to be used by all the consumers. There is no specific segment, there is no specific on the gender basis. The undifferentiated marketing for those large organizations is done because they produce at such a huge scale, their economies of scale or their cost of production becomes very less, and the low price of that particular product makes it attractive for the customer to purchase. So after target marketing, you need to know about positioning. Let me discuss in short. It's easy to understand. Positioning. Now you have worked, now many of you have already attended 25, and what Surbi told me, he must be nearing 28, 29. She must be nearing. So what I mean to say, you have seen life. Now if you go back to your previous years and think about your positioning, what position you have gained in the society. Please go back to the previous years. See your gradual development. Now visualize what position you are right now in the society, what position you have acquired. That means positioning, whatever position you have got, this is not a one-day affair. Whatever position you have got, because it is of your continuous effort for the last few years. Similarly, for a product, positioning cannot be obtained overnight. Whenever a product is supposed to acquire a position in the market, it has to satisfy all the expectation of the customers that has been delivered to the customer much before the introduction of the product. Whatever you have assured them in the advertisement about the product, that those things need to be satisfied. About the quality, about the durability, whatever advertised in the campaign must be satisfied when it is used by customers. Then only a position of that product will be built in the market. So positioning is nothing but the way the product is defined by consumers on important attributes. You compare it with yourself. Whatever position you have achieved, you have acquired, you are now. This is given by others. This is rated by others with whom you are living. The other persons, your friends, your relatives, your society members, they will give you the position. They rate you. Similarly, for a product, the consumers rate the product. If they are satisfied with all the attributes, attribute means the characteristics which you advertised in the previous campaigns. Once the consumers are satisfied, they will give the product the position. So positioning is nothing but the way the product is defined by consumers on its important attributes. So what would be the requirements for positioning? For positioning process? Well, for any process, just I have discussed it 2 times today. For process, you have to identify. Now for positioning, what you need to identify? You need to identify your competitive advantages. You need to present your advantages with comparison to others so that the consumers will look at your product, will be tempted to purchase your products. So you have to present your competitive advantage. Once you present your competitive advantage, you will be able to build a distinct picture, a unique picture of your product in their mind, and they will go for your product for purchasing. So for overall positioning, you have to present the benefits, the features, the affordability, the durability, the uniqueness, the specialty of your products in the market, in the minds of the consumers, in an effective way, so that they will accept your product, they will give good ratings to the attributes of your products, and your product will get a good positioning in the market. So when positioning is done, a firm positioning is done for a product, then it becomes very beneficial for an organization. But unfortunately, sometimes positioning in the first attempt is not made that firm, not made that strong in the market. So for that, always there is retake. When a film shooting is, movie shooting is going on, if one take is not taken once in one shot, it is retaken. So also there is a scope of repositioning. If an organization fails to position its product in the first attempt, it doesn't leave an impressive picture of the product in the first attempt. It can always have the scope to reposition the product. Repositioning means you are positioning the product again in the market, but obviously with some modified or added feature, so that people will think about your product again. You can take the example of Tata Cars. After success of Indica and Indigo, for some period of time, Tata Cars, particularly the passenger cars, they were not moving well in the market. They were good at manufacturing heavy vehicles. So after their constant repositioning effort, finally they introduced Harriers, they introduced Tiago, they introduced Tigor. These cars, particularly Tiago and Tigor, they existed before also. But at that time, they could not make a sustainable, could not make a position, a firm position in the market. But gradually, with some added feature, with the gorgeous look, design, comfort, they presented, they were able to present the new picture, new image of their vehicles in the market, and gradually it became successful. So if you fell in the first time, you can have the scope to reposition your product. So this is all about your consumer and target markets. So that's, I think, for the day. Thank you for being with me for the last 2 hours. Anyone can unmute now and gives his or her feedback about the class. If anything he or she has not understood, please ask me. You are very much welcome. Please give me your feedback so that I will feel motivated to take your class tomorrow. Otherwise, I have not positioned myself well among you. I will consider that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for teaching us, and I have well understood whatever you have told us, sir.
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you. You really
and you have put
boost my energy.
So you have put in a lot of energy, really, because taking a class after
yes,
your office class is really a difficult job, sir.
Speaking continuously for 2 hours, and that too very precisely, and your explaining powers are very good, I should say. That was my first class, but I got everything. The examples that you give are really very apt, so that the students get it very clearly.
Thank you so much, Surbi. Actually, participants like you, Surbi, Mukesh, you give me energy, and I feel motivated to take class again and again. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
So
Please put a
I can
message. Yes.
rightly say that you have positioned yourself very well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So please drop a message in our group. We'll be sharing the same link. They can use the same link to join tomorrow at 5:30. And the number of participants, the more number of participants, the better will be for the class.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Okay then. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night, sir.